All right, guys, we got a solo podcast coming at you today, and we're just going to hop right into reality. It's been an interesting day to the point where we had a bunch of unforeseen bills kind of just show up at once. You know how that goes. And also a little bit of miscommunication between me and my wife in regards to our finances. Nothing catastrophic, but it's just one of those days where it's kind of like, fuck, man. It feels like it kind of sets you back a little bit, took a step backwards. And, that energy is never good to sit with, especially when you feel like you're on this fucking trajectory where things are coming together and things are looking good. And don't get me wrong, they are. But today was, I would say, a step backwards. You know, the analogy of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you're always making progress, right? If you take a macro look at what you were doing, the trajectory is still going where you want it to go. But when you zoom in, that's composed of some good days and then a bad day mixed in here and there. And today wasn't my favorite day. Not that I need to get into all the details, but we just examined our finances, and more importantly, we examined our commitments, our upcoming commitments that we have made to people for the 2026 calendar year. Excuse me. And we realized that me and my wife didn't communicate probably as well as we should have on some different things. And we both made some commitments to these different organizations that cost money to be a part of. And when we started kind of comparing notes today, we realized we're in a little deeper than we're comfortable with. Now that comes with some stress, right? Because it's like, okay, here's some unforeseen bills that neither of us saw coming. But also, it puts you in a place of discomfort. And as we all know, discomfort is where growth is at. We really had 2 options when me and my wife sat down and compared what we have already kind of obligated ourselves to this year with people we're working with, organizations we're working with, and whatnot. And we realized we have 2 options. We can figure out a way to make it work, even though it's going to be a little tighter than we thought it was going to be. Or we can withdraw and say, hey, you know what? I know I committed to this. I know I said I was going to join this and be part of that and these different things that we both committed to. But as soon as I do that, I feel like that diminishes the value of my word. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're all sitting on? Isn't that what is the biggest foundational pillar in who we are as a man? And so that's the conclusion we came to. Say, hey, this is on us for not communicating as well as we should have and articulating the things that we wanted to do or the things we committed to do. And so we said, yep, we're going to continue. And it's just going to be a tough season. And then I realized, when one aspect of your life is just kind of feeling that frustrating energy, you know how it is when it rains, it pours, right? And so then I started working on my podcast. And it was one of those days where it's like, oh no, you don't want to use Safari for this. You want to use Google Chrome because it better works on that platform. Then you got to go through 2-party authentication. And then you got to reset your passwords. And it's actually like, and then everything was frozen. And then I was sent zip files that wouldn't unzip. And it's just like, dude, you know what? Fuck all this. And so I was like, frustration on top of frustration, right? And then I was looking at the podcasts, like the Libsyn info with like your downloads and all this, just all the data about your show. And I'm like, fuck, man, it's not where I hoped it would be right now. And talking to other podcasters, that's more of a industry thing that people are going through because it sounds like less content across the board is being consumed and more people are out doing real shit, which I'll tell you what, I would rather you do jiu-jitsu than listen to this podcast. So if that's the trade-off, I just lost a download, right? And that's kind of the trend right now in podcasting. And so I was like, dude, what the fuck? And like now there's a little bit of negativity around the show. And as soon as there's negativity around something, what do the voices in your head start to say? Well, how much longer are we going to do it? Why are we doing it? Is it still financially viable? And you start having these little ideas in your head of, well, if there's frustration around it, is it necessary anymore? And I was able to connect with a guy on Instagram. So obviously you listen to the show. So Wes Sharp, shout out. Because I told him, we had a little quick back and forth. And I said, you know what, bro, I'm going to go to the studio right fucking now. And I'm going to record. And he sent me a message that just said, hey, your last 2 podcasts have been deep in ways I never imagined possible for a person. And you know what, I'm not going to read the next couple lines because it's a personal thing that he shared with me, right? But at the end of the day, his message, the overall theme of his message was, your podcast helps me. And I was like, I literally just picked my phone up and started talking into it. I'm like, dude, I needed to hear this literally right now. And you know what? Now I'm going to go to the podcast studio and I'm going to record something right now. Because if you let the frustrating energy of any endeavor be what's up front and be what is center front sight focus, then I'm going to have frustrating energy around the podcast. And, and there is a lot of things like doing 285 episodes per week without missing one. I promise you guys, there is a lot of times when it's like, fuck, there's no guest. This guy canceled. Man, I was supposed to travel, but my flight got like all that stuff. Right. And I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but I'm just saying there's seasons when the podcast carries a little bit of a burden. So be it, right? That's anything. That's the yin and yang of everything that we do. But when you're in a season of that, or even a moment of that, and you're like, dude, what the fuck am I doing this for? And then that dude reaches out at that exact time. Like that exact time. It was fucking alignment. And it was, it made me realize like, dude, this is everything you do has a good and a bad. And the percentage of where that's always shifting, sure. Sometimes things are there's more bad than good, and sometimes there's more good than bad. But I think at the end of the day, we have a substantial more ability, a higher capacity, I should say, to have vote in which direction that's shifting and what we allow to carry the majority of our focus and the majority of our energy. And as soon as he sent that, I had that like aha moment. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're not doing this for money. You're not doing this for downloads. If those work out well as a byproduct, cool. That's not a bad thing. But there's also a bigger mission here. And the mission is to be able to help people. And then through that, it inevitably helps myself and my community and my people directly here at Electric North Jiu-Jitsu. The way that I typically run the show is there's another man or woman sitting across the table from me. So every day that I do this, it's not just you guys that get new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives. It's me as well. And that's one of the fascinating things about this journey is that you never know where it's going to take you. But I'll tell you, it's taken me a lot of places good. And I'm going to tell you something else that's very interesting because, and Wes doesn't even know this yet, but I looked at his page and it said Maligator Handler. And I look, and there's tons of pictures with him with mals. And I don't know if that's all the same mal or not, or if you work with different mals, or what the exact story is. But I'm having a problem with my mal that just started. And it's reaching a point where it might have a catastrophic consequence. And I don't mean necessarily like, I'm not saying I'm going to put him down or anything that catastrophic, but our relationship is tainted. And I'm not sure how to navigate this. So maybe Wes, maybe this goes full circle and we're going to help each other out here. But this is the most bizarre thing that's ever happened to me with a dog. I can honestly say that my Malinois is my best friend. Like literally, I have lots of good relationships. I have lots of homies. Like I'm in a good place socially. I always tell you guys that. And if you're not, go to a jiu-jitsu academy. That's the foundation of building a strong social network. But I'm in a good place socially, but me and this dog just connected on levels where it's like I hear it all the time, man, that's your spirit animal. He was sent to you. He's here to teach you a lesson. Like when people look into Govan's eyes and they interact with them, it's like, oh, there's more to this story. Like you can just see it in him. You can tell. Well, 2 weekends ago, I went down to hang out with my buddy Keith Yackey and do some jiu-jitsu down in Laguna. or Dana Point rather, and great weekend. I go home Sunday night. When I walk through the door, Govan challenged me for the alpha position. Straight up. Like fucking bowed up all wide, lowered his head and was growling, showed me his teeth. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And so I disciplined him. I put him in his crate, whatever, right? He didn't blast me. I did have to smack him and like fucking let him know, like, dude, don't show me your fucking teeth. And established a dominant presence. But that's, to me, like, I understand that there's a necessity to do that sometimes with Malinois. I've had another male that lived for 14 years, and I've been through this lesson before. But this is where it's different with Govan. Me and my last Malinois, Havoc was his name, and it was a perfectly suited name. Fucking radical dog. Havoc would push me sometimes, and we'd fucking hash shit out right now, and then it'd be over. And there was no grudges, or there was no like, oh, well, I was mad at you. It was never like that with him. We did clash sometimes. I do remember getting in a couple fights with that dog. Typically, I would get in fights with that dog when I redeployed home from Iraq, because he was there with Jenny, and he was like the fucking, he carried alpha energy. So when I came home, little bit of a challenging process, just like what happened with Govan. But here's where it's different. Me and Govan fucking hashed it out, and he got in trouble. And it's I'm not exaggerating. It's like he fucking hates me now. He has not given me a good interaction since that moment. Every single time I've pet him, even when I feed him, like I've given him ribeye. You guys see, I give him ribeye steak sometimes, bone in, and I'll hand it to him, and he'll still take it, but there's no positive interaction. And so, and then it got worse and worse and worse, where now it's like, now he's annoyed to be around me. He's annoyed to get in my car, and all this transpired very quickly. And so we took him to our trainer. We have a professional trainer, Rocket Dog Academy, up in Mount Vernon, and she's really good. And we took him up there, and as soon as she started to take control of the situation, he bowed up on her too. And so she's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here, and fucking like snapped his ass into shape. And then it got, I don't want to call it ugly. It's just dog training. But for people that haven't trained Mal's before, like in the military, I've seen my buddies have to helicopter them, like string them up over a doorway. Like, these dogs are so driven that sometimes it requires a level of violence to get control of the situation. And that's just part of having a Mal. And if you're not ready for that, don't get one of these dogs. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's so bad right now with him that I'm almost like, dude, why did you do this again? You knew. Why did you do this again? And I hate having that energy. I hate it on a dog that I really, really love. And so he went to training. I worked with him with 2 professional handlers. Things were looking like they were in control. I left him there for a few nights to just kind of re-immerse him in discipline and in the training academy and that style of life for him. Went and picked him up, brought him home, same shit instantly. So that's where we're at. He went right back to training. That's where we're at right now, and it's a really tough season for me, because it's like, that dog was my fucking ride or die. You guys saw, he was on every one of my Instagram posts. He was like within a couple feet of me, and over a 48-hour period away from the house, he's done with me. So yeah, we'll have to work that out. If any of you guys have any ideas, I know a lot of you guys are Malinois people. I just see it through interaction and Facebook posts and whatnot. Tell me if anyone's had this issue before. He's not neutered. I didn't want to neuter him because he was exactly the Mal that I wanted up until this point. But if that's now going to be an issue, maybe that option is back on the table. I'm not sure. But yeah, he'll be 2 in April. So he's right there anyways. And maybe this is just his time to fucking want a challenge for Alpha. All right. So a couple things I did want to talk about today. The Irish teacher, Enoch Burke, have you guys heard about this? Was suspended for not using proper pronouns. So a little boy wants to be called a little girl, and he's like, dude, I'm your teacher. I'm not getting pulled into that. Well, now he's been arrested and supposedly he's going to jail for a long time. And people are saying, oh, well, it's not because of the pronouns and how he addressed it. It's because he refused a court order. He refused a court order. And that's how they're justifying it. He refused a court order. Well, what was the court order? You can't go back to that school. Why can't you go back to that school? Because you don't acknowledge LGBTQX pronouns. So don't mistake this for what it's not. That is the reason. Now, people are like, oh, well, he could have just respected the court order and stayed out of his classroom. Okay, so now we are being told how we can do our jobs professionally by the government under the threat of force, meaning you can't go back to your classroom if you say these things. And if you do go back to your classroom, we're going to take you to jail. And that's what they did. So he ended up saying, you know what? I'm not acknowledging this stuff because it all stems from me having a right to believe in what I believe. And so he's like, I'm not going to respect the court orders that I can't go to my classroom. And so fuck, dude, he got arrested. And supposedly he's looking at a decent amount of time in custody. And that's Ireland for you. That's everywhere over there is getting more and more out of control. And here's the thing. I don't want to be part of this propaganda machine because when I watch certain things, I'm like, there's no way that could be true. And then I look a little deeper into it and the shit that we spread is equally as much disinformation as you hear on the other side. And so when oh, this many 12,000 people are in custody over Facebook posts. Like that's a number that you see all the time on social media. In the UK specifically. In the UK, there are 12,000 people that are in custody over social media posts. Is that true though? Is that verified? Is that real? If you go to Snopes, it says one thing. If you go to ChatGTP, it says another. And it's just like, fuck, man, how much of this is more just fucking stirring the pot, division, and bullshit? And it's so easy to get sucked into that I made an intentional change this week. And it's been fascinating because an intentional change can change your algorithm inside of your social media accounts within 24 hours. I noticed a massive shift. And so the thing that I started following, here, I'm going to mute it real quick because I need to be able to find, I believe he's called is it the MD Motivator? Yes. Yeah, MD Motivator. Zachary Daranowski. And the dude goes around and talks to people. And he's talking to people that are hard up, that are going through hard times. And a lot of times he also portrays himself as homeless. And then anybody that shows him kindness, he reveals who he is. And he's this ultra wealthy influencer who, I don't know if he is wealthy himself, but through his Instagram, he is able to generate tons of money for people in need. So I don't know if he himself makes a ton of money off of this. He probably does at this point. He's big. He has 8.5 million followers. But regardless of if he does or if he doesn't, one thing that he certainly does is he gives a ton to people that are in need. You want to just change the energy of how you feel when you're doom scrolling? Because all of us get sucked into that from time to time. And if your doom scroll algorithm is Fox News, have fun, because I've been there plenty. But if your doom scroll algorithm is fucking the MD motivator, talking to people that are hard up and then surprising them with like college tuition, new houses, new cars, $1,000 cash, just whatever it is, he's helping people. And I watched one the other day, and it was a 88-year-old man, and I think it was like some drugstore, like a Walgreens or CVS. I think that's what it was. And he's working there 40 hours a week, 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week, because he retired from General Motors. Then when they went out of business or they went bankrupt, they revoked a lot of the pensions and just said, hey, sorry, we don't have funds anymore. And his was one of those. And then they got bailed out, and now they're back up and running, but he doesn't get his fucking benefits for some reason. So I know, another rabbit hole in itself, and it sounds fucking sick and twisted. But regardless, he dedicated his whole life to something, and now he has nothing to show for it. So he's working at 88 years old. And so, dude, this guy, another one, this came across my feed because I started watching people being surprised by good being brought into their life. And in a matter of 24 hours, my phone was showing me a bunch of these. And that's where I found this 88-year-old man. And I went right to his page and donated $100 because I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I can help. If I can help retire this guy, just throw him $100, why not? And then I looked the next day, and it's up to 1.3 million. And it's just because it's a bunch of people like us throwing in probably, I guarantee you, $5 to $100 is the overwhelming majority. And depending on where you're at in life, that can be not that much money. And then fucking now this dude has $1.3 million to go retire. And it's just a feel-good story. That's the kind of stuff that as people, you take it in and it uplifts your day. And you go start with a more positive energy and you feel good about what you watched as opposed to what most algorithms are trying to do. So it's pretty cool. I'm actually enjoying this. And then you start to think about, we're moving into the holiday season. Jeremy Newsom says, the more you give, the more you receive. And I think this is a good time to revisit that, think about that. Since being immersed in all this, I went and did some things myself that feel really good to help some people out that are in my community here. And you know what? I'm not even going to tell the story because I don't want this, the more you give, the more you receive mindset to be anchored in putting it on social media or filming it or even telling anybody else about it. Because at the end of the day, if that's what's motivating you, I think you're out of alignment with what we're trying to do here. And so my goal this holiday season is to not anonymously, like whatever, if I interact with people, I interact with people, but keeping it out of the public eye, just trying to give more than I receive. The reason I'm bringing it up to you guys on the show is because I think it's a good thing to encourage all of us to visit. And for those of us that are in a tough season, and trust me, guys, I've been in that tough season plenty throughout life where you're fucking broke and you're borrowing all kinds of money and you literally can't afford groceries. Me and my wife were just talking about that this morning. And if you're in that season, just remember, you might not be in a season to give, but you're still in a season to receive. And remember that. And if you deserve that, you will. And that's just the reality of this. If you are in a season to give, man, let's make this year about that. That's kind of my goal this holiday season, is I want to give more than I receive. And, I was walking into the grocery store last night, and the Salvation Army is out there with their bell, and she was ringing it, and I was like, hey, you said you want to give more than you receive. And it was almost like guilting myself. Like, you have to, because you said you're going to give more than you receive. So then I said, nope, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to I'm going to try and avoid specific organizations. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Salvation Army. I don't really know anything about them. But what I do know is the more fucking dick beaters that are in a pot, the more likelihood for fraud or an unreasonable, like a disproportionate way of allocating funds, all those things. And you hear about organizations that are nonprofits that take in however much money, they take in $1 million, and then most of it goes to pay all their employees, and then 3% is actually going to the cause itself. You hear those stories. So what I've committed to this season, I want to give more than I receive, but I do want to do it directly to people in need. And I want to seek those people out with intention, and I want to help people out that are clearly looking and like energetically ready to receive. I think that that's going to be cool. I think that's going to be an enjoyable way to spend this holiday season. Update on the row is probably something that's needed. The boat has been, obviously it's been purchased for a month now. It looks like it's going to get shipped. It looks like it's going to get shipped next week. And then once it ships, supposedly it's a 30-day, give or take, journey from London to Seattle. And then I drive down, pick it up, pay my $10,000 tariff. That's right. I got hit with a $10,000 tariff, which to me is kind of interesting because, and if I got hit with this a couple weeks ago. So if I've already talked about it on the show, I apologize for being redundant. But for me, a tariff at the base level understanding is to incentivize people to buy here at home. Spend your money on American products with American companies. And I can get behind that. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, that makes sense. Some sort of incentive to spend our money here. Even if it feels a little communist, there's also an element of truth to that, right? And so, I mean, I encourage it here at the gym. We have a thing on the wall where you can scan and you can see all of your teammates' professions, if they're a plumber, if they're an electrician, so we can help ourselves first and support our own community. And that can be done at both the level of the gym, but the level of a country as well. So I do understand the idea. But what I don't understand is that I don't have an option to buy that boat here at home. That boat is not manufactured. It doesn't have a competitor that manufactures boats here. It's a very niche market. It's a fucking open ocean rowboat. It's about as niche as you get. And it's like, nope, it's a pleasure craft from a foreign manufacturer, 10% tariff, 10 grand. Boom. And it's like, fuck, dude, fuck you and your tariffs, right? Like now you're talking about turning everything around and I haven't done numbers yet, so I probably shouldn't say this, but aren't the tariffs supposed to be reducing the deficit? Wasn't that what they were sold as? Are they? And guys, I haven't looked into it yet, so I'm not saying one way or the other. Are they? I'm going to guess they're not, though. I'm going to guess that our deficit is larger right now than it was when we heard about the tariffs being announced. And so, you know what? We're just going to Google it real quick. Or you know what? We're going to chat GTP it because then you guys can hear the answer. We like that. Chat GTP. Allow. All right. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. I'm here and ready to help out.
All right. So I have a question for you. Since the tariffs have been implemented by the current administration, has the national deficit increased or decreased? Ooh, has to think.
So here's the scoop. The tariffs have actually brought in some revenue and are projected to reduce the deficit a bit over the next decade. But in the short term, the overall trade deficit actually hit record highs in 2024 and 2025 because imports surged. So basically, while tariffs might help the deficit in the long run, the deficit hasn't really gone down right out.
Okay, so there you have it. Some weird convoluted answer that it's not going to help it right now, but in 10 years it's going to help it. That's because you're not looking big picture, Greg. You don't understand. I mean, it seems like if adequate amounts of money are coming in, we should be able to now start directing this surplus of money coming in to and allocate it to certain things. Seems like math to me, but apparently I'm not smart enough to be a politician. But regardless, the thing is they don't manufacture that fucking boat here. And they called it a pleasure craft. It's a fucking pain craft. Like, don't get me wrong, and I will go into this next, but fucking pleasure craft, dude. Fuck you guys. Everybody's going to get $2,000 from the tariffs too. That's been said a handful of times. And I was like, oh, cool. I have a family of 5. Everybody gets $2,000. Boom, we're even now. You took 10 grand from me. I'm back. And I told Jeremy that. He started laughing. He goes, bro, are you out of your fucking mind? You make way too much to get that. And I was like, what? And so if that happens, he's like, you aren't going to see a cent of that either way. So, now the good side of the row. Full disclosure, the team has been restructured. The team, we had 2 people have to step away for personal reasons, and I brought in 2 homies, Joshua Dukes being one of them, who's a fucking stud. You guys have heard him on here and probably seen me interacting with him and hunting with him and whatnot. And then another one of my buddies who is going to announce it on his terms. He says he just wants to make sure that all the people that in his life that need to hear it through him before we start talking about it on social media. So I'm respecting that. But he's a fucking radical dude, and the team came together perfectly. And that's how shit works, right? And to my 2 buddies, Tyler and Finn, that had to step away for personal reasons, man, I say this. Thank you for letting me know that, like, energetically and emotionally you feel torn. And you're deciding that it's not for you right now. Because the truth is, the last thing I would fucking want is someone to fucking stay committed to the journey because this is what Greg wants, and then go out into the fucking middle of the ocean for fucking 2 months with the wrong mindset and the wrong energy. If you're not 100% called to do this and be part of this mission, then it's not the mission for you. And so, life is always happening. Things are always changing. New problems are always arising. And for whatever their personal reasons are, they came to the conclusion they had to step away from this. And so moving forward, we've reestablished the team. And dude, it's, again, it just feels like, I don't know if things happen for a reason or if we are all intertwined in making this thing unfold the way that it unfolds, but I think it's unfolding how it's supposed to. I mean, I have to believe that, right? The biggest thing that I've noticed about this commitment is how strong my body has been responding to exercise, how fast, and it's just this massive shift that I've noticed I think it's been 2 months of hard training now. Yeah, 2 months, a little over, maybe 2.5 months of hard training. And I'm not even the same human anymore. That fucking erg is something that I wish I knew about years ago. And for those of you that are like me, fucking 45-year-old black belt, like a lot of joints have had a lot of wear and tear on it. And I'm not even going to say I'm in pain and I ache anymore because I don't. But still, I am not going to go run for 3.5 hours because I know what that means in the morning. My hips and my knees are going to be like, what in the fuck? Because I've already done that. I've forced myself to go run substantial distances. And I was literally telling myself, fucking like David Goggins can't hurt me. Like, this is all in my fucking head. If I just keep going, eventually I'll get through it. And it got to the point where I was on crutches, and that's when I had to go to the orthopedic surgeon. That's when they told me that I need a fake knee. And so there is not a time, or I should say, there is a time when you have to acknowledge some real physiological changes in your body. And I don't have cartilage in my left knee anymore. And there's always been a part of me that's been kind of perturbed by that, because I see guys out there doing 100-mile races, and I've always wanted to be one of those guys. I've always wanted to be one of those guys. I read Dean Karnazes' Ultramarathon Man, like when it came out, and it was an instant fascination. It's like, dude, this dude ran 300 miles at once? What the fuck are we talking about? Someone that's been an athlete my whole life. I joined the fucking Ranger Regiment, went through all the military training, deployments. I've put my body through a lot. And then I read a story like that, and I'm like, oh, wait, I haven't really done anything. Like, nothing that I have done physically even begins to compare to running 300 miles at once. That's not to take away from the things that I have done that have been physically challenging, like becoming a jiu-jitsu black belt. Like, that journey is fucking cherished by me, and it always will be. And, a guy that can run 300 miles probably couldn't do that, right? I understand that this isn't like, this goes both ways as well. And Jeremy Newsom told me that, because he's one of those guys that goes and runs 200 miles at a time. And I said exactly that. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, that's just the next level, dude. And he goes, bro, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt. It's the same fucking level of psychosis. It's the same level of commitment, same level of crazy. And I may or may not fully agree with that, but the truth is, each journey has a certain aspect of you that requires you to commit to it in a different way. I've always wanted to test myself and go run 100 miles. And I was training for a 50-miler when my fucking knee went out. And ever since then, I've kind of been of the mindset, fuck, dude, this isn't going to work for me. This row has completely reinvigorated that for me, because I'm rowing 3,000 miles nonstop. If there is a bigger endurance race out there somewhere, like Colin O'Grady, whatever his name is, he's soloing across Antarctica right now with a fucking carrying a sled behind him. Okay, that's harder, right? There's always going to be something harder. But I also know that I am going to be completely content and proud of myself, and know that you finally committed to your ultra marathon and you saw it through and you succeeded. You finally did it. Except it wasn't on a fucking bike, and it wasn't with your running shoes on. It was in a boat. But to me, that doesn't matter, because I know the amount of effort, the amount of pain, the amount of commitment, the amount of endurance. It is going to reflect an absolute ultra marathon of ultramarathons. It's going to require that of me. It's going to require that grit. It's going to require that commitment. And I am going to be able to fucking step out of that boat a proud man in Hawaii and check that off the old fucking list. Yep, wanted to be an ultra endurance athlete. Boom, did it. Now my wife keeps asking me, like, or no, I guess I don't think she's asking me. It's more of like, what are we going to do with the boat once you get to Hawaii? Meaning, like, are we going to lease it out to another team, or are we going to sell it? And I said, I don't know. We'll have to see what I think of ocean rowing. Maybe we continue to Australia. and she laughed because she interpreted that as a joke, which it was half a joke. But what if this is the most alive I ever fucking feel out there? What if this is like a fucking new spark of adventure? Well, then we'll see what's next. That's fucking life, right? I can tell you right now, I don't foresee this being something that is like, oh, this is my mission now, ocean rowing. I still want to sail the world. I want to become a sailor. I've wanted to know the big ocean and be back on it. Cause like I said, my dad was a commercial fisherman. I've spent a decent amount of time off of the coast of Alaska, but the ocean's calling me back. So it starts with this row, and then I foresee it probably changing to a sailboat in a few years following this. But guys, I'm here to tell you again, I know we talked about it last time I talked about the row, but I'm a month or two later now. Having a mission has made my commitment to training the simplest thing I've ever done. That doesn't mean training is simple. I did 26.2 miles on this thing a couple days ago, and it took me 3.5 hours. It's gnarly, right? Or 340 something, actually, a little longer. And it's fucking painful at times. Like 3.5 plus or 340 on that thing, my back was starting to fucking hurt in ways that I have not experienced. And I was literally thinking again, I'm like, like fucking David Goggins, most people quit and they're only at 40%. And I was like, oh, you're only at 40%. Yeah, you're absolutely fine then. This is nothing. You're going to feel this times 10 out on the ocean. And just honing that fucking mental toughness spot, sitting there in pain, but not quitting. And I know that the truth is whatever pain I feel here will be 10x. It will be 10x out on the ocean. So if it even begins to bother me here, I better rein it the fuck in and check myself. And that's what I've been doing. The other thing though is, like I said, it's been very simple because I now know, because I have a date with the fucking ocean, I now know I have to show up in like selection shape. That's what I'm telling myself. Like my body needs to be as tough as it can be. So I'm doing all of it. Like I just got some HGH too. You guys know I don't hide shit. If I'm like, I'm a vegan and I'm all natural. I've never taken steroids. Like, dude, I've tripled my TRT at times. I think we have all fucking dabbled a little outside of the boundaries at times. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. And at 45 years old, with 22 years of jiu-jitsu, I am healing, but I want to expedite that healing. And so I'm going to run a cycle of HGH to really maximize healing with 157 TB500 as well. And so I am so driven to make sure that when I go to selection with the ocean, the best version of me is there. Not only because that's kind of my ethos, but I got other guys in the boat. Like that changes everything. You show up and you're a fucking turd and the only person you have to look at in the mirror is you. It shouldn't feel good. I'm not saying that you get a pass with yourself. You should be your own worst critic. I do agree with that. But I can tell you the truth, the energy of letting myself down, this is just me being honest, the energy that I sit with when I let myself down is not as profound as when I let others down. Letting others down is one of the most painful emotions you can sit with. And so it's an impossibility that I'm going to show up on May 5th and I'm unable to fucking be the person that I'm required to be. So now that it's non-negotiable, I'm training an hour to 2 hours every single day. Got it. I've given myself the autonomy because after 30 years of nonstop working out, I feel like I can have the autonomy to say, listen to your body. So like the day after the marathon, listen to your body. Feels a little tight, took the day off. I get nothing by doing too much volume and now pushing my body into the realm of overtraining and injuries. There's no such thing as overtraining. Fuck that shit. No days off. I loved all that shit too when I was 30. Come talk to me when you're 45 and you're still training jiu-jitsu fucking all the time. Stuff sounds cool, makes cool t-shirts, but I think a real athlete should be in tune with his body and you should be able to say, okay, today I'm going to chill. Now, you got to remember, is it the real voice in your head that is saying, make sure you don't hurt yourself and be smart? I got you, bro. I'm here with you. Or is it the bitch voice? oh man, you took yesterday off, but you still feel a little tight. You should probably take today off too. Those two voices are almost the exact same tone and pitch. And so be very careful with that. But I feel like I'm at a place where I've trained long enough, martial arts and all the stuff with fitness, that I can distinguish between the two of those now. Like I think a 75 hard protocol is for people that cannot distinguish that. Because if you cannot distinguish that, you're going to have a hard time convincing yourself to get up and do the work. But if you can, man, sometimes I think it's smart to pump the brakes a little bit. The reason that I'm comfortable saying this too is because the proof for me is already, I've been doing this now for 2.5 months, listening to myself. I am allowing 1 or 2 days off a week if it feels like it's absolutely mandatory. But outside of that, I would say I've only taken 1 day off a week, the overwhelming majority of the weeks. And the other days I'm getting fucking down. Here's the most fucking fascinating thing about the C2 erg. I know Rogue supposedly makes a nice one as well. So I don't know if this is just specific to Concept 2. But the harder I fucking train, the better I feel. I have no pain in my knees. I have no pain in my hips. And in the spots that I were like a little tight or a little achy, the harder I train, the better I feel. And the only day that I felt worse the next day was the marathon. And it's because I sweat for 3.5 hours. I think I was dehydrated. Simple as that. So the truth is that's not even, dehydration is my fault at the end of the day. It's not a result of how hard the workout kicked the shit out of me. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy with achy hips and knees and shoulders, get a fucking Concept 2, and it's going to shock you how hard you can train. You can hammer that thing as hard as you can. And you can hammer that thing so fucking hard that you're utterly exhausted in 3 minutes. It's like a dead sprint, pulling big fucking wattage, and the next day you feel great. Or I can pull low wattage. I can pull it like 100 or 90 to 100. And I can just pull a low wattage, and I can do that for fucking 2 hours a day. And I feel fucking great. But here's the fascinating thing. I got back into rolling. I know I said I wasn't going to, but the last couple weeks, my body's felt so good. I'm like, I'm going to get some rounds in. But I haven't rolled in 2.5 months. Dude, my fitness is better than it was when I left the mats, and it's because of the erg. I have always thought for years fitness is exercise specific, because there was times in my life when I could be in great cycling shape and I feel weak on the mats. I gas out on the mats. Great running shape and I gas out on the mats. CrossFit, gas out on the mats. It's like, oh, these things are very specific. Like the only thing that I could get in good jiu-jitsu shape with was a lot of jiu-jitsu. Well, I think I just found the other tool that can keep you in jiu-jitsu shape. I don't have a link or a fucking coupon code. After hearing this, they should do that. But get yourself a Concept 2, and I promise you're going to like the results if you're an old achy grappler like I am. For me, that's the biggest day-to-day thing that I'm noticing, is because, and when I say that, I'm saying my fitness, is because that's the thing that I interact with the most. I'm constantly looking at data. I'm constantly saying, oh, what's my 5K time? What's my 7K time? How many meters can I get in 1 hour? How many meters can I get in 2 hours? And I'm not saying that every fucking day is this contest, because I'm training for longevity. I'm training for volume. So not a lot of my training, I'm like, all right, max effort, 2 hours, let's go. I'm simply saying, I put 2 hours on the clock and then I compare data, and I'm going substantially farther each and every time, even though I feel like I'm putting out about the same amount of effort. So pretty fucking cool with that. You know what, dude? This email just popped up as we're sitting here because I wanted to know when my boat's going to get here. And the email just came in. So sorry for the late reply. Blah, 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 blah. Your boat is booked to be loaded at the earliest opportunity, which is next week. I'm checking transit times and will let you know shortly. There you go. Sounds like it's going to ship next week. And they already told me it's a 30-day delivery. So, yeah, they're busy with the world's toughest row from, I think it's Spain or Portugal to Antigua. That's one of the events that I've been following for like, I don't know, I think since like 2017 or something. I'm not sure when it started. But it's a race, and it's a bunch of people in boats like mine racing. And it's a cool thing to watch. As far as the actual athletes and the endurance and the preparation and the food and the water, all of it is the same as what I'm doing. So if you want to go see something cool, go check that out. They obviously are doing it as part of a event. And so if it's an event, it's going to have support, and it's going to have different aspects of training requirements. And I don't know, it's just, there's oversight on it, right? I'm not saying that's good or bad. Everything is double-edged sword. If there's more oversight, guess what? You're going to probably have rescue boats available. That's probably good, not bad. But the other side of that coin is we're a little more out there, and no one's coming to save youing it up out there. And that's going to make the journey a little spiritually different, though, in what I would consider a good way. And so I think that that's a cool journey to go follow regardless, though. So I think that's all we got for the week. 51 minutes, kind of an impromptu. Thanks, Wes, for making me drive my ass here and do this. And I got some good episodes in the pipe for cool guys with cool stories helping us become better fucking human beings. We'll see you next week.